everybody, it's Sarah, and I don't know if I mentioned it already in one of my past videos, but I decided that I am going to have this backdrop permanently, for now at least, because I am very lazy. And in front of my favorite shelf I don't have this nice little reading chair of mine, so I can't sit down while filming. And yeah, it's the one reason actually. Anyway, today's video is going to be a review again, and that review has been coming for a long time, since the beginning of December actually, because that is when I actually read that book. Luckily I started taking notes, so yeah, that helps me a lot. That helps me actually being able to film that review, so I haven't completely forgotten everything. But that review is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. This review won't be too much of a spoiler-free review. I will have a bit of a spoiler-free part at the beginning where I talk what I thought generally about this book, but it's not very easy to have a spoiler-free review of this book because, of course, as most of you know, this is the third and final book in the Dark Artifices series, which again is the third series in the Shadowhunters Chronicles world thingy. So yeah, there's a lot that happened before that I would have to get into, so it's not really going to be too much of a spoiler-free part. What I do want to say though is that I did enjoy this book. I did not enjoy it as much as I did the other last books in Cassandra Clare's series, like Clockwork Princess and City of Heavenly Fire, but that might be because I kind of grew out of this type of book. I don't like the term grew out of it because it implies that like I grew up and this is too childish for me now, which isn't the case, but like I just changed past that series and it's not really something that I can relate to a lot anymore at the point in my life that I am. I can't really relate a lot to the characters anymore. There were some characters that I really loved though. Some of my favorite characters of all time still are in the series probably. I hated Emma. I still don't like her. I actually like her even less now than I used to. But overall, I still did really enjoy this book. The only big problem I had with it was that I thought it was very crowded and there were too many plot points, and that either it could have been split into two books if you want to keep all of that stuff, or that you could just like cut some of it out. Honestly, I didn't think that everything was absolutely necessary. That's just some general thoughts on this book. Now let me get into the spoilery details. So if you haven't read this book, you can still watch, but be aware that I'm gonna spoil you for a lot of it probably. First of all, I don't know how many of you watched my December wrap-up video, but I did say that I read Lady Midnight and Lord of Shadows right before I picked up Queen of Air and Darkness, because I felt like I needed a refresher for the first two books in the series. Honestly, in Lord of Shadows, Livy's death was very quick and I did not like grieve a lot because it was on the last page basically. But reading those two books, Lord of Shadows and Queen of Air and Darkness, back to back, boy, I cried. Because you basically go from Livy dying straight to her funeral and everything, and the scene on the pyre, and I was like, I'm hurting so much right now. Why do you do this to me? It was hard, okay? I'm trying to kind of get a red string through this review. It might be a bit rambly because, as I said, it's been a while since I read the book, but also my reviews are always rambly, so what's new? Okay, so let me start with the characters. The characters I disliked. I don't like Emma. I still don't like her. I think like the longer I think about this series, the less I like her. I think she's just a really egotistical, like self-centered person. Also, the thing I don't like Jules whenever he's with Emma. I love Jules. Jules is my baby. But whenever he is with Emma, I start disliking him and he starts acting in really stupid and egotistical ways as well. Like, he's such a precious baby. And with Emma, he's just like, I don't know. I can't get behind it, honestly. So, like, I think they are actually my least favorite of the main couplings in Cassandra Clare's universe. Because I just don't like her, okay? And that's why I don't like the whole relationship between them. Jules deserves so much better, honestly. Kieran is my second baby. Like, Jules and Kieran, they're my babies. I will protect them, I will hug them, and I will make them a dinner. I don't know. Whatever. Like, you get the gist probably of what I mean. Kieran, I didn't like in the first book, and then in the second book, and even more so in this book. He grew on me so much. Also, another character that can join the ranks of I will love you forever is Kit. Like, that's the funny thing. This book, overall, I didn't think it was that great. It was like enjoyable. I loved it. I don't know how much of that love is because I have still so much nostalgia for the series, or how much it's because it's a good book. But there were so many characters in this book where I'm like, yes, you and you and you and you're now my babies. And Kit is another one of those characters. I love Kit so much. I also really love Ty. I love the dynamics and the relationship between Kit and Ty as well. Like, especially those two. And I didn't like Ty that much in this book, but I did kind of understand where he's coming from, but I didn't enjoy it too much, that whole part of the book. But the relationship between Kit and Ty is just so heartwarming. And I'm sorry, I have to put this down. This is too heavy to hold up the whole time. The whole love triangle between Mark, Christina, and Kieran I really loved. Like, is it just me? Or does Cassandra Clare just try to get all the ticks on like the diversity list or whatever? Which, by the way, nothing against that. It's great actually to have different representations of different diverse characters in her books. And I do feel like she doesn't just do it in a way where it's like, okay, let me just get this tick, but actually that person won't have any real personality, but where she actually does try to give them proper characterization beyond them just being the queer character or them just being the black character or something like that. So I just really enjoyed just the polyamorous relationship representation. I thought it was really nice. It was a really nice change for once, and it proved once again that actually Cassandra Clare is probably the only person in YA I trust to write a good love triangle. It was really, really good. I highly enjoyed their relationship, and it wasn't a lot of drama, honestly. Like, the most drama there was when Kieran decided to become king, and that then he couldn't be part of that relationship anymore, but it didn't really have anything to do with drama, with jealousy or anything like that, and that was a nice change for once. I think my favorite part of the story was probably Thule, I don't know how to pronounce it, like the alternate reality. I really enjoyed that whole storyline. I really enjoyed Livy in that storyline, and I thought it was like a really interesting twist and everything, and so props to that. And also how that's gonna play in the future books. I am really interested with Ash, with the alternate chase and everything like that. I don't really know if I saw the Ash twist coming or not. Like, I was surprised on the one hand, like the fact that Ash is Sebastian's son, but on the other hand, it was also just like, I feel like I know this. I'm not too surprised by it. I'm surprised, but I'm not too surprised. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting feeling. Then something I saw a lot of people complain about on Twitter is that there was too much of the Mortal Instruments characters in this book. And to be honest, I didn't think that. Like, I actually thought it was less of a kind of fan service, if you want, to like, here, I throw in some breadcrumbs of your favorite characters from the other series just so you can see them, but they don't actually play any big roles. And more of a properly integrating the characters into this book than it usually is. And the thing is, this book was the next new huge threat to Shadowhunters. So to be honest, it's only been, I think, 5 years since the Dark War. Cassandra Clare would have had to have a big reason, like all of them suddenly being dead or all of them suddenly being in an alternate universe or whatever, for Chase, Clary, Alec, all of them, for them not to be heavily involved in making sure that everything goes as is planned and the threat is defeated. Because after all, they were the heroes of the last war, so like it only makes sense for them to be that invested in this story as well and to play such a heavy part in the story as well. So I actually didn't think at all that they were unnecessary and that there was too much of the Mortal Instruments characters in this book. I actually liked them a lot more. I liked where their development brought them. I liked that they weren't exactly the same as they were during the Dark War and during City of Heavenly Fire. I noticed that they had all matured. They still have the same quirky personality traits, but they did mature. And I actually liked a lot of them a lot more, like Chase and Clary, than I did in the Mortal Instruments. Maybe that was just because we didn't really get any POVs from them, so I didn't have to deal with their annoying thoughts. But I honestly like them a lot more. The ending was stupid. I'm sorry, I really didn't like the ending with the Nephilim, whatever, power, parabatai, angel, I don't know. It wasn't for me, to be honest. I thought the ending was very weak for a Cassandra Clare book. I thought the epilogue was even weaker. Like, usually her epilogues were always very tear-jerking. They were always just a nice round out to the series, like a nice conclusion to a series. But this epilogue just felt like a setup for the next one. And I don't dislike an author setting up the next series. Like, if you already know you're gonna publish a series after that, it's nice to have a setup already to make the readers like speculate what is going to happen in that new series. But like, don't do it like in your face type of thing. I just wasn't for me. I prefer Clockwork Princess and City of Heavenly Fire the ends. I'm sorry, I just like really didn't like the ending of this book. And then one last thing that might be like nitpicky or whatever, but something I noticed while reading was there was this one scene where Kit is on the beach in LA, I think, and I think he's talking to Ragnar Fell, I'm not sure. And Kit is singing Scarborough Fair. And Ragnar Fell asks him where he heard that from. It's like this really old song, this really old fairy song, I think. And Kit is like, yeah, I don't know, I think I heard it from my mom or something along those lines. And I thought that was really fun, because nothing against the twist of Kit like singing an old fairy song. But if you do, choose like lyrics or a text of a song that hasn't been, I think it's only covered. I think it is actually an old English folk song or something along the lines. But that was covered by a pretty famous duo. I mean, I think there are a lot of people, especially in today's generation or younger than me, who don't know who Simon and Garfunkel are. But they're still like pretty famous, especially if you're into older music. And you might not know the specific song. But then again, there's also a pretty high chance that you know Scarborough Fair. And as I said, I think it's not only a cover by them, but also a folk song before that. And just, I don't know, I thought it was funny. I mean, it would have been actually funny if Kit had answered like, I don't know, I heard it on the radio once or something. That was strange for me. Because actually, to be honest, Scarborough Fair is one of my favorite songs. And I really enjoy that song, and so it just like, you know, was funny to me. Although I was really confused with the whole lineage of Kit now. Like, who was the Shadow Hunter? Who was the Herondale? Who was the fairy? Like, was his mom the fairy and the Herondale? But then it was like his mom was the first child of the king and the queen of the fairies. But then she can't be a Herondale. But I thought his mom was the Herondale. It was like confusing. So if you made more sense of that than I did, please tell me down below. Because I honestly, I don't know why, but I just was hella confused by that. Anyway, that was it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe give me a like and a subscribe. Tell me in the comments down below what you thought of Queen of Air and Darkness, if you have read it, which you hopefully have if you watch the whole review. And as always, all the links to my social media are in the description box down below, so go and check them out, and I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!